All right, everyone, welcome to Idiots Seeking Village. We, Richard and Adam, are your idiots, and we are seeking you, our village. Adam, as we release this episode the week of Thanksgiving, I just want to tell you that what I'm thankful for is, and I hope this happens for you, that you find someone in your life who fights for you as hard as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson fights to protect wealthy pedophiles from exposure.
Thought you were going to be like all polite and just go with like MTG and how she's fought to release these files. But you threw me a curveball with the Mike Johnson. You're right. He's worked his butt off to try to prevent these things from happening.
I did appreciate, I don't know if you saw that video of him being basically chased through the halls of Congress, and they were asking like, hey, how you feeling about this, right? And he goes, because the Senate basically rushed a vote afterwards, and he's like, I can't believe Chuck Schumer is rushing this. It's like, no. Chuck Schumer's the minority leader. He doesn't put legislation to a vote. The majority leader, he's the guy who does it. So it's amazing how he
the majority
continues
leader
to have
now
to
is
spin.
Thune, I think.
Thune, yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell's like, I fell down one too many times. I think it's time for me to step away for a little bit.
There you go, yeah.
It's like, even so, it's like, you can't believe this is being rushed. Is this being rushed? It's been months and months and months in the making.
What is being rushed here? I mean, it's amazing. I don't understand. I've been like reading through a lot of these files and these emails and everything, and just kind of going through the reporting and whatnot that's been going on. And I don't understand his angle other than just to stir shit up. Like, is Mike Johnson is he the Joker, right? Is he just chaotic evil? Is he just putting stuff out there just to fuck with people? And I think at this point he might be. Like, I don't understand what his angle is at this point.
I think he's being told what to do by a person who is just as confused as everyone else. Because, I mean, he could just say what lie. I mean, like, God, do you not feel dirty at all? Do you just enjoy it? Is that why you do what you do? It's incredible, like, how he could say the things in, like, the straight face and believe it.
Yeah, it's wild to me. Like, I get it. He's a politician. He's the House leader, right? He's third in line for the presidency and all this. Like, he's carrying water for the group, right? Or a position that he may not necessarily believe himself. But at this point, his commitment to staying with that is just baffling. Like, what are you gaining by this when literally no one else is on your side about it? Like, just do the flip-flop that everyone else has done. The same thing with Donald Trump is like, yeah, let's investigate. I've always been in favor of investigation, right? We've always been at war with East Asia. That sort of crap that he's doing. Like, just Johnson, just get on board with it. He's the only one whose motivations I cannot fucking pinpoint.
I think it's like he's a more like logical person than Donald Trump. And so when he goes like he starts digging and he realizes, I got to keep digging. Whereas Trump is just here, no there. And he's just like, just release him. Don't release him. Release him. Don't release him. Mike Johnson is still a political normalcy guy. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm still digging, guys. Why'd you guys all stop? I need to keep digging because I kind of told everybody that I can't just stop. And he's probably just effed himself. But I'm impressed with MTG holding the fort with Massey and every single Republican couldn't vote fast enough after they had enough votes to pass it. It's just such a it's disgusting.
Didn't Lauren Boebert refuse to take Trump's call or something to like?
She met him in like apparently in like the like one of those special conference rooms, like underground or something where like no phones are allowed, none of those things. And I guess she's like, listen, whatever, dude. Okay, and then that was it. She just going to keep going. I think a lot of them realize, like, this is really weird because this is just seems to be such how he even got here and how much of a big deal this became. It just seems so unnecessary and so odd and so strange, because if this was going to be a big deal, why did you basically run for election on it?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. The logic here does not translate in any way you want to look at this.
So that's something you brought up something I want to double check, right? So, sorry, just typing in here. So a lot of people were like, yeah, we're going to release the Epstein Files. We're going to release the Epstein Files. We're going to release it. But like, he himself didn't say that, right? He didn't run saying, I'm going to release the files. He was asked if he would, and he said he'd look into it. And then at one point, I remember, I forget which interview it was, they're like, will you release the Epstein Files? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And then he had that moment where he was like, wait, but, some people might be hurt, right, if we release them. And he immediately backtracked. But he wasn't out there on the campaign trail. He wasn't in Pennsylvania, right, or anywhere else.
No, but he hired every single other person that did.
Correct. It was everyone in his orbit. But this is where, again, Trump's not an idiot. He's an intelligent operator as a politician this way. Like, he can be like, I got Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all these people who are pushing these conspiracy theories, who are saying we're going to release these files and all this. But I never said it. Just they said they wanted to do it. And I was like, I was okay with it if it made sense. Right? He's actually has some arm's length accountability. To your point, like, he didn't actually campaign on this shit.
So then,
and remember, his social media accounts don't really count because those aren't generally run by him, right? Like, he's not running the White House account or anything. Like, that tends to be campaign staffers.
It's just very odd that unless he didn't realize or think that there was this much on him, because you're putting in place all these people who said they were going to do something about it. And I guess he really believed that, hey, I just talk the talk and I could just tell people everything is cool and they'll just listen. Maybe that's what the whole thing was. They're just going to be like, these guys are going to now say there's nothing in there. There's no files to be released. But they put on a show. Like, remember they gave out those big giant binders to all these people like, hey, there it is. And it was all the same stuff that had already been released forever ago.
That was Bondi, yeah.
What? You're telling me you didn't know this show was going to be performed, or you thought this show was going to work? Like, that's why I don't.
So that was one of the things when back in July, remember when it really kind of hit its peak, and then Johnson sent the Congress home or the House home for the summer to avoid a vote. Apparently, what happened in the White House was Donald Trump is like, why is this blowing up? Why does anyone actually care? He never gave it a second thought. And I think he did that, to your point, because he did distance himself from Epstein years and years ago. Not before any of the pedophilia and, trafficking of girls and all that happened. But he thought he had kind of insulated himself, and he wasn't actually realizing that kind of level, like all that QAnon stuff, right? That was driving a lot of his backing and his support over the years. That kind of grassroots level of conspiracy that was behind why he has been relevant in politics for the last decade. He didn't realize that a huge chunk of that was people are looking at Epstein as this critical figure who ties the world's elites together in a way that something like the Panama Papers did, where we learned that everyone was cheating the taxes and running offshore accounts, and basically nothing happened except that they killed the guy who revealed it. Same thing happened here. You reveal that, actually, all these wealthy people are in bed with all the politicians, and, oh, by the way, they're not just stealing money and avoiding taxes, they're trafficking in young girls for sexual reasons. And boom, the guy who's the fulcrum of the whole operation suddenly ends up dead.
Right.
And he just wasn't getting that that's what people are biting into. They actually expect that Trump would uncover that and expose that and bring the system down. People who voted for Trump as an outsider, a good chunk of them actually want to see him burn the system down. And that goes for not just QAnon conspiracy Looney Toonies that are way out there, right? That's like, you know, our parents or our friends' parents, right? They're kind of like, they've got this attitude. And especially when you talk about the economy these days, they'll just be like, yeah, well, Trump's got to tear it all down to build it back better. And it's like, excuse you? I have to fucking live through this economy. If he destroys the economy and he destroys the entire country, I have to live through this. So it's not just so nonchalant to be like, yeah, he's got to tear it down and build it back better. They've got that kind of attitude that he's here to fuck things up specifically.
Yeah. And how long do you think it's going to take him to build it back better? It's like a day, a month, a year, 10 years. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got a point there that I definitely don't think he realized the extent of it. I find it to be interesting that he was so not in touch with the type of people that helped him get elected, that they would just completely pass over something that was important to them. Mm-hmm. But he might have just thought he could just get away with basically anything like he normally has. So he'd be like, this is not a big deal. Who gives a shit about this? It's been going on forever. We'll forget about it. And then he's like, he puts everybody in place who'd have been talking about it for months and months and months. And then it's like, oh, wait, they're serious about this. They want this information, but I'm probably all over this information. So let's not do anything if we can.
Yeah, that's the disconnect between Trump the campaigner and Trump the politician one-on-one, right? That's that buffoonish WWE, right? The whole kayfabe facade that he puts on when he's on stage at his rallies or he's at campaign stops is different from, and social media to an extent as well, than what he is one-on-one with people. Right, I'm not saying he's some sober elder statesman when he's behind closed doors, but he's not that buffoon who'll say anything to get a response. And this is something that's been well documented. Back to the 2016 election, like during campaign rallies, he'd be talking and talking, and he could sense the whole energy of the crowd would be lagging. So that's when he'd bust out the build the wall or lock her up, right? All those chants that became just hallmarks of his campaign, because that would get people excited and they'd start chanting to get the energy going. He's an entertainer when it comes down to it. And I don't think he really ever thought that this would ever be a thing. I don't think that ever hit his mind.
It's the only thing that really makes sense, actually, because to constantly like pivot back and forth and don't release it. They can't. We can't. She's gonna do it. If she has it, she'll do it. And it was just like this whole song and dance. And now he's just like, I'll release it. I'm assuming he wants to release it just because the majority of stuff has been already released on him. Mm-hmm. Number one, and number two is he could just have released it himself. He doesn't need for them to go through all this shit. So I have no idea what he's hoping. I think he's just hoping for a last minute buzzer beater that bails him out of whatever this is, or somebody looks so much worse than he does, or he's been able to delete other things, or he's just like, yeah, this is all shit that everybody thought knew already. I'm not really sure. But he's lied as much as he could possibly lie about shit. So if it's not a big deal, and if it's a hoax, like I really just think he's kind of like Mike Johnson did and just kept digging himself a hole. And he's like, I thought I would have gotten out of this hole by now. Right.
The whole thing is when you're in a hole, put the shovel down. And he continues to dig. And now, what do you say? I authorize the DOJ to go after Bill Clinton and the Democrats and Reid Hoffman and all these folks who are in the files and to fully investigate them. And it's like, I'm looking at just the trove of emails that the House released prior to the vote, right, that day on November 12th, just by count, by person who's named in these things, number one is Donald Trump, over 1,600 times. Number two is Epstein at a little over 1,000. There's almost 60% more mentions of Donald Trump than there are of Epstein in the fucking Epstein emails and the Epstein files and the documentation that's in there. By the way, number three, Barack Obama, 421. It is not even like, oh, they're all neck and neck. No, it is like orders of magnitude of a drop. Yeah, then it's Obama at 420, Bill Clinton just under 400, and then it drops like Michael Wolff, Steve Bannon, like a little around 200, and then everyone else below that. There's like a whole rank of people between like 100 and 150, including Ghislaine Maxwell, Larry Summers, Prince Andrew, and all those guys. So yeah, so he's
Obama about.
It's a good question. Let me bring this up here, right? So let's go on a little journey, my friend. Let's figure out what the hell's going on here. So I think I should be able to share this on the screen. Boom. All right. So yeah, so this is just the online collection of it, just to be able to filter by people, right? So I just clicked on Obama, right here. Right, there's going to be 421 documents with his name in it. And some of these are like articles and copies of articles, and some of these are the actual emails back and forth. You know, so some of these are just mentions. They don't even have anything to do with the emails, actually. I'd love to filter. Can I filter by emails themselves? I don't think so, but let me do this. Let me add in Epstein as a cross-reference, right? So that's shooting for both Obama and Epstein emails. Yeah, right here, like Epstein, and then on this page, if we do...
Interesting that this even exists, the ability to do this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the thing is, technology around this, but sorry, let me go back here. So right here, we just saw it a moment ago. Yeah, right here, this third document, House Oversight 13415, right? First public look at deal Epstein's high power, right? Mortgage rates hit this. If you probably qualify for Obama's lowermybills.com. Do you remember those ads during the Obama administration, like 10 years ago? So these emails have the ads and the bullshit that like Yahoo Mail and whatever put in there at the time.
Gotcha.
So there isn't even this isn't even talking about Barack Obama.
So it's like spam, basically.
Well, that particular mention, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that might be a lot of them.
Like, look at this. First page right here, right? This is Darren Indike sending an email to Jackie Perchek and sending a couple of articles about West Palm Beach. And right here, a Pennzoil ad is in the middle of this, right? Again, because it's extracting the content of the articles that are being sent back and forth and the links. Yeah, so there's some in here is bullshit. Right here, you can see Palm Beach Post, Susan Spencer Wendell. This is an article from 2009 about Epstein's non-prosecution agreement. Right, so yeah, there's an ad pivot in here about Obama. There might be another mention about Obama. We can continue to go through all of this, but like at least this document, it's the articles being shared by various lawyers that included the email dump. There's Obama.
I have a feeling there's probably a lot of them like that.
Oh, there's going to be a fair number of this. Yeah, so it's not as clean as you would like it, but it is easy to
go through and just be like disregard to other stuff.
Exactly.
But this is interesting times we live in, where something that was just a nothing during the Biden administration, basically, where it was like, we'll get to it when we get to it. It'll just go through the steps, not a big deal, like whatever. And every single person's like, that Trump hired was like, this is a cover up. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. When I'm in charge, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. And Trump was like, okay, you're hired. Like, dude, are you sure you want to hire that guy?
Yeah. Well, it's a stupid thing where, some right wingers are like, well, the Democrats had 4 years to release the files. Like, no, they didn't, because Ghislaine Maxwell was under an active investigation. She was in court, and she wasn't sentenced until June of 2022. Right.
And then she
So,
appealed, and so it takes
correct.
time,
So,
and there was other stuff. And
so you don't take the page from the Kash Patel book of Police for Dummies and take pictures with your phone of bullets with Bic ballpoint pen writing on them and tweet that out as evidence when you're still during an active investigation. When you have active court trials, you don't release evidence out into the public. You don't put information out there that is relevant to the cases. Like, you've got to protect that stuff until everything is exhausted and done for the most part. And so you don't release information like that. So, yeah, could Democrats have used this as ammunition? Sure. But again, they would have been torpedoing an actual case against one of the people who's involved in this. Why would you let this person off on a legal technicality that they could fully pursue, or their lawyers could fully pursue, when you're actually trying to get them indicted and arrested and sentenced?
yeah, 100%. They really just do it for the clicks. It's all about clicks for these guys. There's nothing really. Everything is released. He goes after whatever enemy he wants. He'll hire whoever. He's like, hey, you on the street, will you go after him for me? Hire him, go after him. They'll say whatever they want to say, and then they wonder why cases don't work. The system doesn't work. Well, that's not how the system works. You don't say the things you say and expect things to not backfire on you in any kind of way with all these lawyers. And that's how courts work. You hire people to pursue cases, and those things usually stay within the realms of this. But when you're the president of the United States, you have like an outsized influence when you open your mouth.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling, this whole ordeal. And then you give Maxwell like leniency. I mean, that makes it even look worse. Like,
it's a clown show. You're right, because he loves to rule by fiat, right? By just declaration, right? He's Michael Scott shouting, "I declare bankruptcy," in that episode of The Office. That's how he's always operated. To your point, like James Comey, a federal judge was like, you fucked up in terms of how you've been prosecuting this. Like, he might actually get out of this on a technicality because of how poorly run the investigation was. Like, apparently they made some like serious errors and irregularities in terms of, they never presented the indictment to the grand jury.
They hired a woman who was not qualified for this kind of law because nobody else wanted the case.
Well, think about it.
Tell you something right off the bat.
Everyone in the administration is either a Fox News alumnus or a podcaster, right? These aren't people who are qualified. They weren't particularly qualified in his first term either, but they're even less qualified now. I mean, this is basically presidency by The Apprentice at this point.
Give him credit. He hires good-looking women.
He hires based on attractiveness. He definitely does. I mean, he's a pretty typical, wealthy businessman of his age, right? He's not hiring because of your capability for the most part. He's hiring based on your willingness to do what it takes to win, and the fact that he doesn't mind looking at you and being seen in the same room as you.
Yeah, it's like they probably just give him a group of headshots, and they're all basically qualified. But which one do you like better? Oh, she looks nicer. Pick her.
Basically, okay. Yeah. That's when people are like, Trump is racist. Like, yeah, he got into hot water with his housing practices, that he wouldn't lease apartments to like black and minority people back in the 70s and 80s. There's definitely some element of that. Again, I think to a conversation you and I've had already, that's like kind of standard basic racism, especially for New York and the Northeast. He doesn't really give a shit if you're black or you're brown. He cares that you'll do what needs to be done, right? And that you will benefit him ultimately. So he doesn't really care what color you are in that sense.
Yeah. If you can make him richer, he's going to listen to you and do what you want.
Yeah. So Have you gone through any of these emails or files?
Some of them I've listened to them, people discussing them, and I read some of it. It's just a whole. I still cannot really grasp how it's come to this, like this whole thing, like how it started, that we went from the drawings that I don't doodle, it's not my handwriting, it's not my signature. And it's just like, how much do you have to lie about the facts and the truth before people are just like, wow, you really are full of shit? I mean, I can't believe people didn't realize this to begin with and voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is like stuff that it's like, here's this information that we have or we see that everybody knows. Yeah, that's not real. Okay, well, what about this? That's not real. It's a hoax. It's all a hoax. Now let's go after these people because they're in the emails. I don't understand. There is no more information. It's a hoax. Well, that part is not. It's just like he just keeps digging himself a bigger and bigger hole. And
it's
Mike Johnson. Maybe he was holding the bucket this whole time and is realizing, I got a lot of buckets. I got to hold the buckets. I got to keep holding it for my president.
Yeah, we all know, we've all met this person at some point in our lives, right? It's the compulsive liar. It's the person who is just telling a story when there's absolutely no reason to be telling a story. And to just make up all this stuff. So much of it is like they do it for attention or they do it for sympathy. And it's like, dude, I'd have been sympathetic if you just told me the straight up truth, like of what happened. Instead, you kind of come up with this whole convoluted bullshit. And now I don't trust you and I don't care about your story. And now I don't feel any sympathy for you. It's such a strange approach to it.
Yeah, it's like I have to deny because I cannot be related to anything like this. And now it's overwhelmingly that I have no other choice. Just like, what's his name? The Harvard guy and the former Treasury who was...
Larry Summers.
Yeah, Larry Summers. Like him is like, I'm sorry. I got to go reflect on this with my family right now. I'm going to step down. I'm like, dude, you knew this all existed before. You took part in all this shit. This can't be new information to you. Why didn't you say something sooner?
No, I mean, Larry Summers is a scumbag too. So let's not let him off the hook.
It's the same thing. You stay quiet. You don't say a word until it's just like, all right, now I have to. But when it just blows up completely in your face, instead of getting ahead of it and be like, I really fucked up because I was a piece of shit. Nope. I got to wait till it's really abundantly clear that I'm a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, it's so weird. So like, to your point, right, there's so many angles on this whole Epstein thing. One of them is this whole building up of the Epstein Files as this big thing and the cover up and all the back and forth between the White House and the House of Representatives and just in the media and kind of in the blogosphere and everything going on. Then you have the actual sexual predator, sexual assault, child trafficking going on where, all these sex crimes are happening with all of these wealthy and or influential people. That is going back and forth and just kind of how gross all these people are and just kind of embarrassing them and all, for most of them, because there's not a lot of direct confirmation of what they did or did not do within these emails, right? There's a lot of, you got Virginia Jeffrey, right, or formerly Virginia Roberts, and you've got a couple other kind of Jane Does who are in here like, yeah, no, he picked me up from here, brought me in, massage, made me, have sex with him or whatever. And then he pimped me out to this, and that person, right? But it's always like the same, like half dozen people. It's not like the rest of the names. But then the third part of this that always kind of has been interesting, and I think goes into the conspiratorial part, which is kind of goes deeper, which really is where I think it goes into the circumstances of how he died is, again, where did his money come from? Right? Why was he this financier to the wealthy and powerful and the influential and the connected? I think to me, that's the important one to dig into a little bit.
I think he probably had a gift of gab and a gift of schmoozing and grifting. Mm-hmm. And That's why the show that on CNBC that used to be, I don't even know if it might still be on, that greed show. And like you see all these people who are like, oh, he stole this money. He stole millions of dollars from these people. And then you just think, I'm like, wow, you have the ability to obtain all this money from all these people. And then you just blew the money. You didn't even bother doing what you were going to say you were going to do. You just threw it away, blew it, spent it on things. And I'm like, man, you have the ability to recruit this kind of money. You have a power almost. And he probably had that kind of power, but he probably was like, I'm going to take that money, make more money with it. And in the meantime, I'm going to get these people on to want to hang out and stay with me because I like you little girls. They seem to like little girls. I'm going to throw them their way, and then I'm going to have them locked up. So they're going to have to keep giving me money. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of because I don't even think Trump really had anything to do with most of this circle. I just think these are friends of his, and a lot of them are friends of his. I think that's the big problem because he's like, oh, we're going to go after all the Democrats. Well, he was a Democrat, Trump. These are all his boys, and I think that's the problem. He's like, yeah, there's all these photos of me and Jeffrey Epstein, but there's a lot of photos of me and all these other people probably that you just don't know yet because they're not really known. But once you see who they are, they're going to be like, oh, there's me with them all the time.
I do just really want to thank Mark Epstein, Jeff's younger brother, for clarifying that Bubba is not Bill Clinton, right? Putting out that press release. However, under no circumstances did he say that Trump didn't blow anyone. He just confirmed that Bubba's not Clinton. That's a different Bubba.
I want to know who Bubba is.
Apparently, it's not anyone famous. My initial thought was, I don't know, Bubba the Love Sponge, Bubba Gump. Like, where are we going with this? But no, apparently he's like, not anyone famous. Like, all right.
I thought it was a guy from prison or a guy from, down south. Because usually those are the names that you throw around as Bubba. Oh, here comes Big Bubba. Here comes Bubba. But I still think it was a joke.
Oh, yeah, no. I think it was locker room banter. Definitely locker room banter based off of some, current event or whatever that, again, what do you say? Does Putin have the picture of Trump blowing Bubba, right? It's kind of like, that's just guys bullshitting by text or email, right? Like that's every group chat every guy has. Someone has something said along those lines. You can't take it seriously. But again, it's the fact that he came out and didn't say, oh, no, he didn't do it. He didn't give anyone a blowjob. Oh, no, it was just locker room talk, right? We're just bantering. No. He just confirmed that Bubba's not Clinton. And that's my favorite part of it. He's like, he left that wide open.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw Bill Clinton under the bus.
To what purpose? So, like, what do you gain by shitting on Clinton? Everyone shits on Clinton these days. But yeah, like, it's to your point that you were saying, right? It's Trump was in the circle, but in a lot of ways, like he wasn't, right? He was definitely at the townhouse in New York. He was part of this whole, I think where they were similar is they both wanted to be on the inside of that kind of high society elites and whatnot. And that really, having read through a lot of what Epstein did, how people talked about him and how he referred to others and what he did, I think that's really, he's just a con man. He was just a grade A grifter who also, rather than trying to keep a low profile, he used his ability to go into a room, sit back and listen to people, hear what they say, and then able to actually engage with them in a charming manner. Right? But also add to the conversation. And that really ingratiated him with a lot of people. And he wanted to be seen with famous people. He wanted to be seen with influential people. The guy was a star fucker. He wanted to be out and about with people who are in the spotlight, but not necessarily in the spotlight himself. And he had enough going on. Like one of the things, he was under SEC investigation for Steve Hoffenberg, who ran one of the largest Ponzi schemes prior to Bernie Madoff. The two of them worked together, and there was a whole SEC investigation about, because he tried to take over Pan Am. And he tried to take over a few other deals that all went south. And I've read through it, and Epstein The guy didn't have a broker's license. He couldn't conduct the trades himself. He is just inserting himself in the middle, and he's just trying to get buyers and sellers and investors and whomever lined up effectively. He's just playing all sides. It's this juggling game that he has going on. And I think at one point in 1989, when he's already saying that he only takes in clients with, $1 billion of assets more, he apparently had less than $20 million of assets himself. And he didn't even own the Palm Beach house by that point. So you see Les Wexner, right, the former CEO and founder of Limited Brands, the Victoria's Secret guy. He's the guy who's like, oh yeah, Epstein told me he doesn't take clients with less than $1 billion of worth. Dude, he was blowing smoke up your ass, man. He was trying to get that so that you'd be impressed with him as a financial manager, because he knows that you're being hit up by guys who want to manage your wealth left, right, and center. And he can go in there and he can wow you by saying, yeah, I don't even know if you're wealthy enough for me to work with you. Also, I'm going to charm you, and I'm going to be able to talk to you about things and get along with you in a good way. The guy, honestly, he was running a grift this whole time. It is just as likely, in my opinion, after having read through a lot of this, that he was killed simply because he fucked with the money for too many people, as it is that he was killed to cover up.
Yeah.
Right, all this sexual activity by these wealthy people. I think it's equally plausible at this point, because you can't get caught. And if he had this whole house of cards about all these financial transactions that are going on, and people, you don't fuck with the money. You never fuck with the money.
Yeah. Look at, was it Larry Summers? And there was this other old guy who, they would email him like basically almost begging for like dating advice and like how to talk to women and talk to these girls. And it's just like, these guys are just like all pansies who were like, they really got grifted by him by like, oh man, he must be a real stud. Like he brings in all these young women. They're always around him. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I want to be with this guy. And a lot of them probably were not pedophiles. I would assume like that circle gets infinitely smaller and smaller the closer you get to him. Mm-hmm. But it was, I want to be around him, because if I'm around him, other women might like me. So, and I think it backfired royally on a lot of these people.
It's, a lot of these guys, right? They're wealthy, they're powerful, and they might have sexual inclinations, right, that are not normal, but they also could just easily be awkward as fuck, right? They know how to be successful in business world, but they don't know how to talk to a woman, and they don't know how to talk to an attractive woman. Mm-hmm. Or they might be successful, but they can't actually keep up with a woman who's also intellectually capable and successful. They need someone who's vulnerable, or they need someone who they just want to treat like an object. This long predates Epstein. Just Tiger Woods. You look at, South Park did an entire episode on all these, sex offenders, or like, oh, I'm a sex addict. No, you're wealthy and you're powerful and you're influential and you feel like you can get whatever you want. Right. And that includes forcing yourself sexually on people who don't want to have sex with you. That's the whole Me Too movement, right? That's the whole, Harvey Weinstein and all of them. This isn't new. Yeah.
And tons of people knew about that and didn't say anything because they wanted their jobs and they wanted to be in the limelight.
Yes, exactly. And I was reading about, someone was going through like some actresses like, yeah, whatever happened to her? And it's like, oh, Weinstein happened to her. Like he came onto her and then he blacklisted her when she said no. It's crazy. Like you think like someone famous like Mira Sorvino, right? She was like on the up and up in her career. She already had a Hollywood family that she came from, and she still got blacklisted, right? So if you're a no one who's an up and comer, and someone like a Weinstein, they're going to shut down your career. They can do it at that point. Yeah. They have power.
Yeah, look at Paltrow. She said that she came from a well-known family too, but she said that Brad Pitt basically threatened him, like, you leave her alone, or I will do whatever I have to, kind of thing. So like, if she's even saying that, like, I don't, I really think a lot of it is you have a small group of people who are disgusting human beings, and then there's the people around you who are like, I got nothing really to do with this, but I want to be around him because of all the other stuff I get from being around him. It's kind of like the sun, and all the planets are around the sun. It's like, I want to be here because it keeps me alive, keeps our life going. I might not like the idea of being tied to it, but I'm just going to look the other way and let those people figure it out who are involved. And I think that's what this Epstein file thing is all about. And it's just bigger and bigger names with lots and lots of money and lots of juice.
It's what it is. It's documentation that these people are up to no good, right? One way or another. It's validation of what people inherently understand, is that there's a second set of rules for the wealthy and influential and the elite in this country, and another set of rules for plebs like you and me and everyone listening, right? And so now, what are you going to do about it? Well, you know that if you attempt to, you can either fight the corruption and likely end up poor or defeated, or you can find yourself a way in to be a part of it. And Epstein's a guy who found himself a way in, right? And he used his skills that he had. And his skill ultimately was being able to charm people who have power and influence and make them think that that he's someone that they want to be around.
Yeah. And I mean, because a lot of these people who still went and hang out with him and went on his plane, they knew he was a shitbag, but they still did it. And they still went out with him and hung out with him and went places because this guy knows other people, and this could benefit my career, or this could make me more money. It's just me. And now it's come full circle. Because, I mean, like, you have, like, all these names like Beyonce. But Beyonce has nothing to do with any of this shit. But to tell me she had no idea that Jeffrey Epstein was crap? I don't believe that. But money goes and hangs out with money.
His Beyonce in these files. Let's take a look. Oh, let's see.
They know, like, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they were used his plane or on his plane. I just think it really, a lot of the majority of these people are just, they kind of look the other way just to be like, hey, listen, guy's a fucking douchebag or a shithead. Kind of like P. Diddy. And, like, you guys hang out with P. Diddy and work with P. Diddy. Everybody knew that these sex parties were going on if you were in the inner circle sanctum of that area. They just like, I'm going to leave at this time because I know shit gets crazy after this time.
Right. And they don't say anything because they know that they'll come after them, and they'll suddenly, opportunities they already have will suddenly end, and without explanation.
Yeah, it's like, I have no proof. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to make sure I don't see it and leave. I just hear stories. Like, what was it? Cat Williams, the comedian, would say about that. He's like, yeah, I knew all this shit. I've been saying it for years that he's a crazy creep or whatever. But he never hung around to, like, watch and find out and take evidence and turn them in, obviously. He's just like, yeah, I've seen it. I know it. Just like all these other people. It's like, until, like, until the actual victims come out and are just like, this is what's happening. These are people who know. That's when stuff happens, and then all of a sudden these people, are collateral damage now because you kind of didn't help in any way. Sometimes you get what you get and you don't get upset, right?
Exactly. I'm just looking at the lower end of the list here of what names are in these emails and in these files, and it's great. Again, this is an imperfect system because it's just trying to look for any sort of names, but like O.J. Simpson is in here 13 times. And it's because of Alan Dershowitz, because Alan Dershowitz was on the dream team, the legal team that defended him, right? But that's why it's like, this is
Alan
great.
Dershowitz, man, he'll go to his grave loving Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my God, Alan. I don't want to go down that road because I don't want to get sued. But yeah, Alan Dershowitz, piece of shit. There we go. That shouldn't get me sued too badly.
He gives Jews a bad name, bad name.
Wow. Wow. We need to get some backing music for you there. So yeah, look at
I
this.
was inspired, Bon
Bono.
Jovi.
Bono's in here 16 times. Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google, is in here 16 times. Chelsea Clinton is in here 16 times. Brett Kavanaugh, the Dalai Lama. Oh, that's fantastic. Jeff Bezos, of course, Monica Lewinsky, Nicolas Sarkozy, former president of France. Jesus, Tim Geithner, Antonin Scalia, Diana, Princess of Wales. Oh my God. Henry Kravis of KKR. What I found funny is that his model agency buddy, Jean-Luc Brunel, is only in here a handful of times as well. Like, he's not more prominent. And that was one of the main avenues which they source girls for Little St. James and for the townhouse. He's only in here 14 times. Same as Nancy Pelosi, 14 times. Also Nicole Kidman, 14 times. Yasser Arafat, Don Rumsfeld, Gwyneth Paltrow.
We got to figure at some point they probably ceased to use emails and just became like text messages or some other kind of messaging service. Because
Didn't have signal chat back then.
right? But emails were there was really no texting unless if you wanted to text a message, it would take you 8 years on a phone before. So that didn't come around until maybe they got 2007 is when the iPhone, I think, came out. Mm-hmm. Maybe everybody started jumping on board a couple years later, 2009, 2010, started getting a lot more people using it. I would say sometime after that, it would start dying down and more things would be via text than email.
Here's the thing. I think, again, most of this is early enough that a lot of these folks, again, these are not tech-savvy folks for the most part, that they don't use encrypted email or encrypted messaging, right? That's a 2025 thing. That's not a 2017. It's barely a 2017 thing. It's certainly not a 2007 thing at that point. So they would have used email openly and not really worried about it. Heidi Fleiss, Morgan Fairchild, Tom Ford. Oh my God, this is fantastic. Yitzhak Rabin, Condoleezza Rice, David Copperfield. The names in this freaking depository are amazing. John Milton, like the John Milton? Yep, Paradise Lost. Marine Le Pen, George Soros, of course. Oh, this is good stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would we'll put the link in the episode notes. I definitely encourage everyone to just poke around in here just for the hell of it.
Good searching fun.
Yeah, if you this is better than you can either veg out to Netflix or you can kind of go through this list. Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, don't go through don't go through TikToks or all that stuff. Don't surf the internet. Just surf through the emails. Maybe you'll find something good.
Mark Twain is in here 9 times.
So I'm going to guess those are advertisements because those guys were long dead before.
Mick Jagger, Natalie Portman, Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's Richard Feynman, worked on the atom bomb. Yeah, no, definitely long dead. Yeah. Good old Ronnie Reagan, the Gipper. Scarlett Johansson, Shaquille O'Neal, yes, Tipper Gore, Vera Wang, Walter Isaacson. I'm actually surprised he's not in here more, considering he does all the biographies for everyone. William Shakespeare, 9 times. Abraham Lincoln, 8. Adam Sandler, also 8. Adele, 8
I'm hoping for
times.
me. When am I going to get in? When am I going to get on that list?
You might legitimately be in here. If you know what? Shit, man. I should have looked for you first. Elton John, Cynthia Nixon, George Clooney.
I'd be like, he did get my email. That son of a bitch. He never responded.
Adam, the only Adam on this list is Adam Sandler. Adam, you could have been the second one on this list. And by the way, he's only in here 8 times. I feel like you could have beaten that.
Maybe. We'll never know. Never know. So where do you think now, the House, they chased each other down until they all voted for except one lunatic. Where do you think this is gonna go now? Where do you think this goes? You assume they're gonna just pat everybody's gonna say okay, and then they're just gonna give you nothing? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of, yeah, definitely Clay Higgins, the lone no vote in the House. Definitely someone needs to check his hard disk. And someone
he's
needs to double check that he doesn't have a secret computer somewhere that's air gapped, because he definitely does. But yeah, where does this go, right? And we've got a Senate vote on this as well, and then it's got to go to, what's his face?
Trumpo,
To Trumpo.
the copper con man.
So let's see. Let's look at something terrible. Let's look at C-SPAN. Senate unanimously approves bill to release Epstein Files, sends it to the president's desk. Okay, so that passed today.
What is their definition of unanimous? Like everyone, or is it like the House, or is it?
Senate unanimously approves bill to release. I have to assume that's 100 to nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Unanimous means unanimous.
So now he's gonna have to sign off on it. And what is he signing off on? What are they really going to release? And what is at this point acceptable that since you could have released it all this time, now you're being forced to sign and release it. What is being actually released? And is it going to be what everybody wanted?
Yes, that's a really, really good question. Let's dig into that, right? So what exactly is happening right now? The House of Representatives is considering legislation to repeal that provisioning that allowed the senators to sue Jack Smith over his their phone record searches. That's so funny that they're going to take that up.
So
did you see that one?
Yeah, because they could have gotten what, like up to $500,000 or something.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It was just basically a kickback to all senators. And I get why they were upset about that, but at the same time, like, dude, it was an active investigation.
Or that we still have health insurance that's on the docket that you're running out of time for.
We do? I don't know. If I listen to any other random, Republican-leaning person in my town, all I have to do to get free healthcare is cross the border illegally. And then everything's fucking, land of milk and honey and sunshine and daisies and rainbows and kittens, right? I get free phones, I get free housing, I get free healthcare. So apparently that's all I have to do is leave the country and come back in illegally.
Sign me up. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it, buddy. So where... Wow, C-SPAN is really trash. So I got to go somewhere for actual news. Let's take a look. So Congress released a vote. So, yeah, so to you, what you were asking before, right? Donald Trump could have compelled the Department of Justice to release whatever files they have. This just has the backing of legal force behind it that Congress unanimously sends this bill to his approval. So now it's like on the record, right? Okay. Legally, the government wants this released. It's not just that the president directed the Department of Justice to do so.
Gotcha.
This also means that like Trump could have released something partial or something like super heavily redacted or whatever. Now it has to follow whatever guidelines is in the bill that got passed, right? So Congress. So I want to look at the language here. Epstein Files Transparency Act, HR 4405. Requires the DOJ to publish in searchable and downloadable format all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in their possession that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, including materials relating to Ghislaine Maxwell, flight logs and travel records, individuals named or referenced, including government officials, in connection with the investigation and prosecution. DOJ is permitted to withhold certain information, such as the personal information of victims and materials that were jeopardized in active investigation. Additionally, not later than 15 days after required publication, DOJ must report to Congress all categories of information released and withheld, a summary of any redactions made, and a list of all government officials and politically exposed individuals named or referenced in the published materials. So again, Trump could have been like, yeah, just release them and then not done anything. Now Congress is like, no, you've got to release this. Here's what you can release. Here's what you don't have to release. And by the way, you need to tell us exactly what you did.
It's great.
Yeah.
I just want to know how they're going to try to fuck with that. Or how would they have maybe fucked with it already?
Well, that's the thing, right? Well, what are the rumors that they've had FBI agents working around the clock to, scrub Trump's name from all the files, which is ridiculous because the emails are out there.
Sooner.
He's on the flight logs. We've had that data for years. He's in that little black book, right? That again has been out there for years at this point, so you can't hide that.
But I could see them trying because I think it would be hysterical. It'd be like, wait a minute, how are you not in this anymore? Why is the information that was been known for years now gone? I could just see them fucking that up. Trying to do something.
That's the thing, right? Just presuming that there's got to be too many copies of the individual analyses, reports, emails, files, whatever, all this is compiled of that that they could redact it or edit it and try to put it out there as the official record. And there isn't at least several someones who can be like, no, you fucked with this, right? And we'll definitely see that at some point, that the official DOJ files that got put out, at least something is not going to match up to previous versions in a meaningful way.
I'm sure this will not end easily like everybody wants it to. Because, I'm tired of the stupid shit already. Who's not? Let's get down to more important things, but and maybe I have no idea. That was that's the point, to keep focusing on, like they always do, stuff that's not relevant to what their real jobs are supposed to be.
You were touching on this earlier, like what's next? Let's ask an honest question. Is this going to fix or improve the country? Is this going to address any of the issues that we've talked about to this point? Generally speaking, no. Right? There's been so much, and we've talked about this, right? So many distractions being brought up to distract from the Epstein Files. But the Epstein Files in and of themselves are also a distraction from the actual job of governance and running this country and addressing infrastructure, healthcare, taxation, right? All the things that are problematic in this country, our economy, and everything else. The benefit here that I see is that people who have been pulling the levers behind the scenes and have been fucking with it in a way that doesn't benefit you and me and people who would be listening to this, they're the ones who ideally should suffer some sort of consequences for this. But again, only if federal prosecutors, United States attorneys, and local prosecutors, right, at the state and city and county levels, start going after the people who got named and have credible evidence against them, right? Just because your name's in these files doesn't mean shit. It's mostly reputational risk for a lot of these people at this point. And they're already ridiculously wealthy, so they might not be able to make much more money, or they might be shut out of opportunities and whatnot, but they're not going to be living in a cardboard box by any means, unless there's actual evidence against them, right? And if there's actual evidence against them, there should already be active investigations and prosecution going on. That's the problem. If you think about it, right, we know that there's some half dozen to a dozen wealthy, famous individuals whose names have consistently come up with regards to Epstein and the whole sexual assault and trafficking and all that. There's over 1,000 victims, supposedly, compiled by the FBI during this investigation. And Jonetta Feldman and the people running the Epstein Trust and estate, they continue to take new accounts of victims and paying out restitution to them. And they're keeping that under the table. That's all private, kind of one-on-one. Basically, these women who went in there as girls would go in, be like, hey, here's whom I was approached by, here's where they took me, here's whom I was with and when it happened and where it happened. And basically they go into a back room, they check all the all the logs and information that they have, and they go, yeah, no, your story checks out. Here's a payout. And there's some 200 women who have gone that route so far and have gotten payments from the Epstein estate. So when you look at it from that perspective, and by the way, part of that is they get to retain their anonymity and don't get dragged through the mud. And of course, the names of the perpetrators, the abusers, don't go out there either. And it protects the identities of the victims, right? Which kind of hampers any sort of prosecutorial approach to this. So there's some restitution for the victims that's out there, but there's this whole like iceberg, right, worth under the water that's not being addressed. That's not happening. And I honestly, Adam, I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to result in meaningful consequences aside from a handful of folks who are just most involved here. So is this, in terms of pivoting back to politics, this might take out a few heavy hitters in terms of their ability to influence people and buy off politicians and whatnot. But like, is this going to take down Donald Trump's presidency? I don't think so. Not unless there's, some dead to rights evidence of him doing stuff with a victim.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is. I feel like we would have seen it by this point.
Yeah, it's just like a cover-up for cover-up's sake. I think, you're going to have the Prince Andrew, or what is he now, a Duke, or whatever he is. Like, he's going to be like one of the bigger names. Now you have all these other ancillary guys. You're going to have some people who've taken a fall, but they're not going to do jail time. There's not going to be any perp walks. I know they want somebody, but the main one is dead. The other one is still in jail in a cushy prison. And the other ones, lost his title, and the other ones are, gonna just like lose their jobs, and they're still millionaires. And that's it. Yep. Unless some victim is just like, a couple victims are like, fuck this, I'm burning the whole place down, and then come out. That's
I mean, to your point, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, former Prince Andrew, like, he's been stripped of his titles. Like, yeah, that's embarrassing for him, being a member of the royal family, but what difference does that make to his life? Nothing, really. Yeah, he still has it.
Stay out of jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Call me madam all you want if I can stay out of jail. I don't give a shit what you call me.
Yeah. So, I mean, and look, he's been stripped of all his titles. He's still 8th in the line for the throne. Like, they haven't taken him out of the list.
Oh, really? Point. I just thought that was like a given. Once you get your name taken down, I thought you no longer are on the list.
No, he's just not allowed to go around saying he's His Royal Highness Andrew, Mountbatten Windsor. Like, he cannot use that publicly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he just stripped of his titles, but that's it. Like, he again, reputational risk. It's mildly embarrassing. But guess what? What is the guy? He's in his 60s, in his 70s at this point, right? Yeah. Like, he's not really losing anything. He got to live his full life and got away with it almost scot-free.
Yeah. I really, this is probably going to just end in like some weird whimper and then it's just going to once again ask, like, what was the point in all of this? Why? Is it just because you have money and power and you just do what you want to do and then that's it? That's what happens? Like, it's just such a odd thing for something like a scandal that was kind of contained to become so big and quite possibly have nothing to show for it in the end.
Yeah. I feel like when this started, it felt like this is the sort of scandal in normal times that would take down a presidency. It would take down the wealthy and the powerful and the connected. And we just don't live in normal times anymore. Right? No, we live in we live in a bizarro world now.
Yeah. We had a classier world back then. but it's. I mean, I never really saw it, but it's like I guess a lot of people were super disappointed in the the series finale of The Sopranos. I have a feeling this will be kind of like what happens. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is a great conspiracy. It was so great," and then like nothing happened. This is how it ended. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something juicier will come out, and then we'll move on to more important things.
I think it'll move on to more important things. I think the only thing that possibly at this point could continue to come out is, again, it's when you think about it, it's you've got the sexual assault. You've got the whole kind of cover up around all this. And then you've got the source of his funds and financing. Again, I think that's the critical one where there's going to continue to be actual potential fallout. A couple of hackers actually gathered the emails of Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, that involve Epstein, right? And so we're going to see there's a lot more information that's out there that is just not quite public at the moment.
It's interesting.
And we're going to see. And I say to that point, right, again, you don't fuck with the money. That's where I think we're going to see a lot more of this sort of stuff, where if there's going to be any sort of fallout, it's going to be in terms of protecting the wealthy and the connected and the powerful who have not quite been implicated so far.
That would be interesting. It won't be as juicy, but I think if you could just get rid of some of the power in play, I think people will be somewhat satisfied with that conclusion. I'm sure, they want it to be more like a TV or movie where all of a sudden, like, the crime ring just starts breaking down and falling apart, and all these guys get busted in all these places around the world from this giant sex trafficking ring, and all these other people in power who funded it get busted, but it's not likely.
Interesting. I'm just going through some of these hacks. I've got these Epstein ones. Collection of documents, emails, and recordings relating to Epstein includes FBI and Interpol files, court documents released from the Department of Justice, and emails with Ehud Barak. Yeah. Interesting. I'll go through those. All right, my friend. Be good, man. Don't get involved with any slick financiers.
Good thing I don't have the money for that.
Ah, perfect. See, poverty. That's the way to be. Poor,
exactly.
Poor and not connected.
That's right. Can't tie me to nobody. Nobody want to be tied to me.
I always love when people are like, yeah, Trump's wealthy. He can't be bought. I'm like, excuse you? I don't think you understand how capitalism works. Like, he can be bought more.
Or his kind of wealth.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to get a couple $100 billion worth of financing for real estate development projects, or I could just get the $400,000 salary. Which one of these two is going to buy me off more? Yeah, I'll tell you which one. It's the former, not the latter.
Yeah, he just wants to die with more wealth.
He who dies with the most toys wins.
I think that's the premise, right?
Oh boy. All right, dude. On that note, catch you later. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you around.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Idiot Seeking Village is a production of Village Idiots Media. For more, find us online at villageidiotsmedia.com or find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and wherever you get podcasts.